Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Committee Reads. I am your host, KWCs, and with me today I have Alex, Nagoda, and Joe. And today we will be going over match 125, Grand King Ghidorah vs. Ultraman. The world awaits. Two Titans View Live by Christian Zaktikov. Notice there is no subtitle with the episode. That was just what was on the banner. Okay, bye.
No.
Fuck you.
Ultraman yelled out as he delivered a powerful jump kick to Grand King Ghidorah's chest. The vile space demon staggered back but did not fall. It let out a sound that sounded eerily like a laugh. Ultraman felt fear but quickly turned it into anger. It wouldn't do him any good to fight while doubting his own abilities. But Ultraman couldn't help it. After their unresolved battle back in Washington, D.C., he learned just how immortal he was firsthand. Shortly after that, he found out Zone Fighter had disappeared. The last anyone heard, he had killed Monster X, and the Russian government had joined forces with him to fight off Ghidorah before all communication had been lost with the city. New York City was infested with a forest of Space Godzilla's crystals. Finally, one of G-Force's underground docking bays for their mechs was attacked by an unlikely invader. The monster Baragon had accidentally dug his way into the Mechagodzilla hangar in search of food before being driven off. This is why Baragons don't have lights. Now, here Ultraman is. Still no clue where Zone Fighter is, if he is alive. His allies at G-Force still trying to repair the heavy damages caused by Bargon, and now having a rematch in the boxing ring with one of the most dangerous predators to have been born in the far, cold reaches of space. The boxing ring was just as the name implied. A giant boxing ring big enough to hold several giant monsters. Though high-tension wires were used as ropes and giant metal towers acted as giant turnbuckles. Giant, I read that right. The ring was located just outside of New York City, with a giant pit dug around it, reinforced with steel walls. The ring was made by G-Force to teach future pilots how to make their mechs, such as Mechagodzilla and Ghidorah, fight in a tooth and claw battle. Many monsters like to get up close and personal, some with defenses that made many, if not all, long-range weapons useless, and it wouldn't pay to have pilots not know how to use their mechs in melee combat. Ugh,
I'm gonna channel my inner Peter Griffin here and say, "Oh my God, who the hell cares?"
We'll get that Peter Griffin revved up from this next one. In fact, Ultraman and Zone Fighter often volunteered to be the monsters in the ring. After their battle in DC, King Ghidorah flew to the boxing ring almost as if drawn to it, because the plot needed to happen. The creature would fly up into the sky and fire at the city in the distance, often causing more of New York's buildings that weren't already destroyed by Space Godzilla's crystals to crumble, and even sometimes destroy the crystals themselves, but every time it landed, it would not land anywhere except for in the ring. It was almost as if he was challenging the world. Oh boy, 2 down, 8 to go. Anyway, Ultraman had to wonder where Space Godzilla was and why he wasn't anywhere near his crystal fortress. What would cause him to leave? Was he making more around the world? He had to find out later, but for now, he had to deal with the nightmare hell beast in front of him. It was nighttime, and seeing this creature stand in front of him in the dark, its golden scales reflecting the light of the city's fire. That's spelled wrong. I think city, that would be an apostrophe as that time, actually. City's fire in the distance made it look like something out of a horror film. Oh, geez, subtle.
It's almost like a damn monster movie.
King Ghidorah unleashed a barrage of gravity beams, but the red and silver hero backflipped out of the way. Ultraman ran towards King Ghidorah as the golden dragon fired red lightning from its wings. Ultraman saw this, but took no action to defend himself. It was a mistake he would come to regret right away. Ultraman was shocked and fell to the ground. Ultraman may have been immune or at least resistant to electricity, which is partly why he didn't defend himself. Thank you for letting us know. But this electricity King Ghidorah fired was strange, different, alien. It's called plasma! Anyway, Ultraman managed to get up to his knee before a mighty force from above crushed him. Ultraman couldn't see it, but he knew that King Ghidorah was on his back. The weight went away only to come right back. King Ghidorah jumped up and down on Ultraman again and again like a trampoline, trying to crush the alien hero. The three-headed monster lifted Ultraman in his jaws before throwing him into one of the four corners of the arena. Ultraman jumped up, forming his hands into an L, and fired his specium ray, the bizarre blue energy blast coming out not as a single beam, but as a stream of many particles that moved so fast that to the human eye it looked like many incomplete tiny lines flying forward. Too specific, damn it. King Ghidorah just stood there with a bored expression on its faces, just like the readers reading this. The specium ray was blocked off by Golden Monster's light barrier. Ultraman cursed his bad luck. He knew about this power, but was hoping he was close enough to hit the demon before its scales had enough time to capture the ray's light and convert it into a shield. Ultraman planned to try again at a closer range, but he needed a distraction. He charged up energy into the form of a saw on his right arm and threw it. King Ghidorah's heads all focused on the incoming projectile. The Ultra Slash hit the light shield and, to the King of Terror's shock, broke it. King Ghidorah's reflexes saved it. At the last second, it jumped up before the blade could reach its lighter armored necks and cut them in half. Before it could do that. Instead, the saw blade of light hit its much more heavily armored chest, sparks flying before it exploded. The golden monster was about to take to the sky when it felt a powerful force knock it out of the air. Ultraman had flown to the dragon at Mach 5, slamming it into one of the pillars in the corner. Ultraman smacked Ghidorah's chest and heads with several chops. Hitting him in a blind fury before leaping back. The evil entity was disoriented, using the power of anti-gravity to float back to its feet as it regained its senses. There, right in front of it, less than 50 meters away, stood the being that mocked its power with its foolish efforts. Its arms again crossed into an L shape. Ultraman let out a yell as another blast of the specium ray flew out of its hands. At this range, Grand King Ghidorah could not bring his light barrier up, and the destructive stream hit him dead in the chest. Its searing heat burning him. Ultraman kept up the stream as long as he could, but even through the smoke and the screams of pain, it was clear to him that it was not enough. Sure enough, as soon as he had to stop to recharge his energy reserves, the King of Terror stopped screaming and stared at him. Other than a small black burn mark on his once golden chest scales, it seemed to have little effect. To any other monster, the attack would have been a one-hit kill attack, and they would have become a living time bomb, blowing up mere seconds later. But to the Hydra, it was merely a painful annoyance, like a bug bite. That is the analogy to Ultraman, a bug bite. Anyway. A rumbling was heard off in the distance. Dark clouds were moving in. It was going to storm. This isn't legendary King Ghidorah. Get out of here.
About the same thing.
The look King Ghidorah was giving Ultraman had now changed from boredom to one of minor annoyance, which was still boredom. Ultraman threw another...
So basically our thoughts on this match.
So far. Ultraman threw another Ultra Slash, but the energy saw exploded when the gravity beam crashed into it. Ultraman ran up to the golden tyrant, grabbing one of its heads and kneeing its neck, then punching it in the stomach several times. Each blow was rewarded with a shriek before Ultraman delivered a powerful roundhouse kick to its chest, causing it to once more stagger back. King Ghidorah recovered quickly, advancing on the red and silver hero, headbutting his face, shoulder, and stomach. Ultraman fell onto his back but quickly got back to his feet before doing a flying kick. But King Ghidorah's mouths grabbed him midair, biting as hard as they could. Ultraman struggled to get free, hitting the heads and necks, but the god of death and destruction would not relent. Finally, Grand King Ghidorah threw him to the ground. One foot stomped right onto his chest, holding him in place as gravity beams rained down upon him. Ultraman, freedom! Nothing. Ultraman let out.
You okay there, buddy? It sounded like you were orgasming.
Ultraman let out a cry of agony as the death rays danced over his body. The space monster took his foot off of Ultraman, allowing the beams to push him away. The mighty warrior of light rolling around like a tumbleweed before the devil stopped to let loose with an insane cackle. Ultraman's hands glowed as he formed a rectangle with his hands. King Ghidorah fired more gravity beams, but they were blocked by the invisible barrier that Ultraman had formed. The three-headed monster ceased his attack and charged up, his entire body glowing before he fired super gravity beams, shattering the barrier like it was nothing. Ultraman tried to block the deadly blast with the specium ray, but the death beams were too strong and easily overwhelmed his own, sending him flying back. Winner, Grand King Ghidorah. Alright, pass.
wait, whose turn?
Oh gosh, yeah, Nagoda,
Gosh,
you up.
fucking darn it.
Because Alex goes last. So.
Okay then. Ultraman crashed into the high-tension wires acting as the ring's ropes, and ended up bouncing off of them and staggering forward, only for King Ghidorah to step to the side and stick his left neck out. Ultraman fell from the clothesline. The Golden Tyrant blasted several of the buildings in the distance as he slowly walked towards Ultraman. Still tried to kill that city, huh? And then kicked him into one of the arena's corners. The space demon laughed, even more cackles of insanity. King Ghidorah watched Ultraman climb up one of the turnbuckles, thinking he was trying to escape. The villain went to reach him with one of his mouths when he got his face kicked in. As the beast recoiled from such a blow, Ultraman jumped off the turnbuckle and elbow dropped the gold monster, knocking him onto his stomach. Ultraman grabbed him by the necks and threw him into the ropes. Before Ghidorah could react, Ultraman drop-kicked him in the stomach before he fell. Ultraman was not going to give up and picked the beast up by its serpent-like necks again, throwing him out of the ring and into the pit. But before he even hit the ground, the space monster used its anti-gravity flight to float back into the air. It finally started to rain. With the water, death fell. Golden death rays rained down from the sky into the arena, the nearby city and its buildings, and Ultraman. Every time Ultraman tried to get to his feet, the golden monster would send another volley down upon him as he circled around the ring. King Ghidorah landed in the ring, roaring at Ultraman, daring him to attack. Ultraman's timer was blinking red, the warning that he had to either end this fight soon or recharge soon. It seemed like he was going to lose this fight. Suddenly, the hero lunged at the three-headed freak of nature, knocking him on his back. Ultraman hit as fast and as hard as he could with several chops and punches over the monster's body. He lifted his body up and then slammed it into the metal arena floor several times. You know, if Harley were here, she'd probably have some commentary to give right here.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Oh yeah, definitely. Harley would bring in all the cheesy commentary in the world, and we love it.
King Ghidorah's eyes stared. Yeah, we need those commentary. King
Can we
Ghidorah's eyes
skip
stared.
this?
No, we have to read it.
It's so boring, though.
Unfortunately.
Well, what if I told you that this was Christian Zaktov's last match until 160? Will that make you happy?
No.
Oh.
Because there's still more Christian matches around.
Well, it won't be for a while.
King Ghidorah's eyes stared into Ultraman's despite his head being bashed into the ground. Before the Warrior of Light could question why, a quick, bright flash emitted from the dragon's red eyes. Suddenly, Ultraman stopped attacking. Something was wrong. Very wrong. He couldn't control his body. Wait, what? I thought it was only small...
I guess he's controlling Shin Hayata? I guess?
I guess.
Then,
I mean, if
then
he can
again,
do
old
this
KWC,
then...
so who knows?
So that means I can't loophole this into it. Okay.
As far as I'm aware, no.
Damn.
He couldn't control his body. He could feel his body, but he had no say in what it was doing. His body was moving on its own. He climbed off King Ghidorah and started to punch himself. King Ghidorah got up and cackled in delight as his mind controller worked, pushing random buttons and watching his Ultraman.
Stop hitting yourself.
Ultraman stopped punching himself and felt his legs move of their own accord as he ran headfirst into one of the turnbuckles. His player, clearly forgetting how to play the game, he backed off and then did it again, then did a forward flip and fell on his back. Ultraman was helpless as King Ghidorah's mind control forced him to walk to the planet killer and stand there, defenseless. King Ghidorah then put the controller down as the golden monster rammed his left head into his gut, then stomped on his feet. Ultraman was in so much pain, but the mind control was so great, he wasn't even allowed to hold his stomach or hop on his feet. He couldn't even scream out in pain as King Ghidorah bashed him with all three heads, sending him flying back to the other end of the boxing ring. King Ghidorah forced him to walk up to him once more and blast him in the face at point-blank range. Now his timer was going off like crazy. It wouldn't be much longer until the hero ran out of power. Okay, real quick, I lost track. How many more do I have?
Don't worry, I have you covered. Just keep reading.
Okay. Ultraman felt terror like he never knew before as he flew.
Gosh, sorry. Oh, great shots here.
High up into the sky. Oh, good.
But we can't hear him.
Into
Fuck
the
you
sky.
too.
I'm trying to stay quiet. Nagoda's reading. Shh.
All right. Shh.
Higher and higher above the arena until it was too small to see. Then he skydived as fast as he could. Ultraman's stomach dropped when he saw the G-Force logo on the ring's floor get bigger and bigger until he slammed into it head first. King Ghidorah let out what seemed like a sigh, or the closest thing to a sigh, that a vile being such as itself could muster. It stopped being fun and had become boring once more.
Like this man.
The planet killer... Yep. The planet killer wanted to find someone more challenging to fight. Time to end this. Ultraman's arm created another ultra slash. Slowly his arm brought the energy saw to his neck. Closer and closer. Suddenly, something amazing happened. By sheer free will... Well, of course he breaks out now. Ultraman managed to break free of the control, and not a minute too soon, as the blade had made a small cut on his neck, making it bleed. Oh, I guess all he needed was just a small cut. You want me to pass so Greyshot can read, or...?
Yeah, I can take it over
Yeah,
from
you
you.
can take it. I'll let you know when to stop, Gray Shot. You can take it over.
Alright, pass.
Can do. Ultraman threw the deadly weapon right at his former tormentor and took to the sky. King Ghidorah's reflexes saved it once again as it fired a gravity beam blast to destroy the deadly projectile. When the smoke cleared, it saw that his foe was missing. He looked around, but all he saw was the empty ring. What few buildings were left of New York on fire, some flashes of lightning in the sky, and the glowing of the crystals in the distance. He heard the crackle of fire in the distance, the patter of rain hitting the ground, the hum of energy being sapped into Space Godzilla's crystals, and the rumble of thunder, but no sign of Ultraman. The living Apocalypse looked up at the sky, seeing his target flying high into the clouds. Now he was angry. No one escapes his wrath. No one. All that encounter him die. Death! Death to all who stand in his way! Oh, the edge! Higher and higher Ultraman flew. It seemed there would be no one to the rain that... It seemed there would be no end to the rain that fell on him, or the lightning that danced all around him in the sky, when suddenly he broke through the clouds and was in the vastness of space. The sun's rays shined into him, refilling him with much-needed energy. For a second, he was at peace. Even if his mission failed, even if he died, there will always be others to challenge or sneeze this tyrant and end its reign of terror. The planet below him looked beautiful. The rays of hope shined on him. The future looked bright even in this dark hour. All this in a second, and then dread returned as he drove back down. Whether he lived or died didn't matter. He would kill the threat from beyond the stars, even if it was the last thing he ever did. He didn't have to wait long. As soon as he was back in the storm clouds, Grand King Ghidorah fired several rays at him, searing his flesh. Ultraman yelled out, but still managed to remain in control of his fight. He fired another Ultra Slash, but the Gold Dragon dodged it with ease. King Ghidorah fired red bolts of lightning from his bat-like wings, but the much faster Ultraman was too quick, outmaneuvering him at every turn. To its confusion, the planet killer lost track of Ultraman in the storm. Suddenly, it felt a powerful blow to its side as Ultraman slammed into him. The two titans continued to punch, kick, bite, headbutt, and blast each other as they fell and tumbled through the sky. Before they knew it, the two fell right into the boxing ring, creating a large crater in the floor. A loud metal clang was heard for miles. Ultraman got up and kicked King Ghidorah in the side so hard the super monster was sent flying several meters before falling to the other side of the arena. King Ghidorah got back up only to have Ultraman drop kick him in the stomach. King Ghidorah stumbled into a turnbuckle. Ultraman then kicked him so hard in the stomach, crushing him beneath his leg and in the turnbuckle behind him that he retched, his bile coming out of all mouths and coating Ultraman's leg in it. The golden monster fell to the ground, but Ultraman grabbed him by the tails and slammed the beast into the turnbuckle several times before throwing him down to the ground. King Ghidorah was an animal, but it still had a problem-solving skills. It didn't know how, but Ultraman's sudden renewal of power and the object on his chest turning back to blue were somehow connected to him flying up in the sky. Somehow, Ultraman was getting his power from up there. So how was it going to stop him from doing it again when he was already running low on power? He had a solution to that problem already. Ultraman was ready to deliver the next series of attacks when he heard a strange noise. All of a sudden, a strange dome formed around the boxing ring. There was enough room to take off and fly, but not enough to reach into space where Ultraman needed to be if he needed the sun's rays to recharge again. Rain was being allowed to come in, but Ultraman knew that King Ghidorah was merely taunting him. If he tried leaving, he will be burned by the dome's acidic walls. King Ghidorah took advantage of Ultraman's distraction and got back up, body slamming him. Ultraman went to punch him, but the Hydra grabbed his arms with its toothy maws. Then, they lifted him into the air and then slammed him right back into Ghidorah's knee. Ultraman had the air knocked out of him as he couldn't breathe for a few seconds. King Ghidorah jumped up and landed on him, stomping on him, smacking his face with his spiky tails. Ultraman feebly tried to get up, but King Ghidorah picked him up and threw him into the air. On the way down, all three heads smacked into him, sending him right into the ropes. Ultraman cried out. King Ghidorah moved in for the kill when suddenly Ultraman turned around lightning fast, grabbing King Ghidorah's right leg and pulling. The terror beast stumbled forward as it tried to keep its balance. Ultraman delivered a powerful punch to the leg, causing it to bend the wrong way. Broken.
Oof.
King Ghidorah howled in agony as Ultraman threw him to the ground.
All right, great shot.
Damn.
I'm going to pass to Joe. Joe, take 7.
Damn.
So.
Ultraman stomped on the necks, grabbing and twisting them. Bones creaked, but it still wasn't enough. The three-headed monster blasted him off again. It got back to its feet and bit down on Ultraman's neck. The Warrior of Light's neck was slowly but surely breaking, and unlike Ghidorah, he could not survive such an injury. He had to do something, and quick. The two other heads fired their gravity beams at point-blank range out on the helpless hero. Already the timer on Ultraman's chest had turned red again, and was beeping at a frantic pace. Ultraman elbowed Ghidorah several times in the chest, but the Planet Killer refused to let go. In a desperate move, Ultraman fired a point-blank Ultra Slash into one of Ghidorah's wings. The right wing was cut off. King Ghidorah roared out in agony as it let go. Ultraman felt no sympathy for the demon. In fact, if the two spoke the same language, he would have told it 2 words. Fuck you. Ultraman ran to Grand King Ghidorah and jumped up, slamming his elbow right into the left head's jaw, breaking it. Ultraman then spun around quickly until energy rings shot off of him and formed around the King of Terror. The light barrier was no use as they tightened to the point of shattering it, restraining the Planet Killer. Ultraman had a plan, but it was a desperate one, and it would cost him so much energy that if he had to fully charge, to pull it off, or else he would die. He grabbed the still restrained Ghidorah and flew up into the sky. Ultraman braced himself as he flew through the dome walls, the acid burning him severely. When they reached space, the sun's rays once again charged Ultraman to the max, and he nosedived once more, this time with Ghidorah in front of him. Ultraman encased his body into the fireball he would normally use for space travel. The flames burned at the helpless Space Terror's back as they entered the dome and crashed into the boxing ring floor at Mach 5. The intense crash of the 2 giants caused the floor to give way, and they fell many meters down. The elevator shaft that brought the mechs up to the ring. They crashed to the bottom inside one of G-Force's docking bays. Ultraman must have blacked out for a few seconds because when he came to, Ghidorah was missing. The move had almost killed him. His timer was already beeping and flashing at an insane rate when he had just recharged. Sounds like my phone. He heard screams. He heard screams and got up. Several maintenance workers were running for their lives, trying to get out. King Ghidorah was blasting everything in sight. Ultraman got up and fired his Specium Ray at point blank, hoping that the beast was weakened enough to finally be killed by the ray. It still wasn't enough. The beam had caused a mine explosion, but King Ghidorah still stood. Despite its broken leg, King Ghidorah ran at Ultraman and headbutted him away. King Ghidorah then ripped Mogera out of the docking bay with its awesome might, threw the mech right at Ultraman. Ultraman was crushed beneath the mighty machine.
Especially its thick thighs.
Nothing could compare.
Struggled to push the
that Ultraman had to take a bite out of it.
He struggled to push the robot off of him and stumbled back to his feet. King Ghidorah's body glowed a bright golden before unleashing his most deadly attack once more. The super gravity beams slammed into Ultraman, breaking several of his ribs and burning him.
So would this count as a loss for Mogera right here?
Yeah, right. Yes. If we were going off the Tom rules of adding monsters, yes.
Somebody just gets in Mogera. Guys, I can help! Just explodes.
Yeah.
Loss.
Winner, not Mogera.
That sounds like the same involvement Dogura, Kamaku's, and Orga had in the anime trilogy.
Basically.
Ultraman let out the loudest scream of his life, and then he fell onto his back. His timer was going off like crazy now. It informed him that he was almost out of power. It wouldn't be long before he reverted back to his human form and was powerless. So, this is how it ends. He would die at the hands of Grand King Ghidorah. He stared at the big hole in the ceiling, stared at the stormy night sky, letting the rain fall onto him.
Those last few sentences, I thought Joe was making a joke. That's how much this match has put me off.
So, this is how it all ends. With rain. 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 Water, that's it.
All right.
Pass.
Yeah. Alex, finish it off.
No.
Ultraman used water bending.
We'll see about that.
Ultraman,
I'm
use
gonna
water gun.
use sword bending to kill myself so I can get out of this.
You could drink a bunch of water. I think that might be a good method as well.
Yes.
Just blood bend yourself.
Good idea. Ultraman had a sudden idea that might be crazy enough to work. Ultraman had the power to rapidly lower his body and temperature and make the water and the air condense onto his hands as a high-pressure stream. I forget, who is this? Ultraman?
Ultraman. Yes.
It's Ultra
Oh,
7.
Ultraman.
Yes.
Remember learning that the Earthlings could sometimes use high-pressure water streams to cut through metal, but he had only used his power to put out fires. Never as a cutting weapon, he wasn't sure if he could make the pressure high enough to even push the monster, let alone cut them. But at this point, he had to try everything else. This had to work or else he would die. King Ghidorah had defenses built around defending it from energy-based attacks, but nothing like water. Ghidorah slowly walked towards Ultraman, ready to crush him in his jaws and feast on his corpse. He was nearly on top of the motionless warrior when suddenly the alien hero jumped up on his feet. Before the planet killer could react, he pressed his hands together and fired off a huge stream of water. The force was like a giant fire hose as it sent Ghidorah flying back to the wall. Man spotted the nearby Mechagodzilla and with his ungodly strength ripped the robotic double. Thought that's a dude. A Godzilla off of its stocky arms and threw it at Ghidorah. The machine slammed into the planet killer, crushing him between it and the walls. The stun giant pushed the robot to the side and removed himself from the crater in the wall, stumbling in place, clearly knocked senseless. Man ran up to the beam that caused so much death and destruction and shoved his hands down the middle of the head's mouth, letting a powerful blast of water loose. Ghidorah's chest and stomach expanded until they were too big, and suddenly he became the Big Chungus. There was an explosion of gore as his stomach exploded. Ghidorah shrieked out in unbearable pain. For the first and last time, the Ultraman felt sorry for. This isn't the first or last time. He didn't feel sorry when he Megalon.
Yeah, I know.
Utopian people.
There's that too. Well, different continuity, but still, he did feel a sympathy
No, this is
for
the
him earlier.
And decided to make his next attack quick to put it out of its misery. Oh, I'm surprised he's going to put it out of its misery. How said that? Only in its final moments would it understand the pain it has brought countless worlds for countless eons and died before it get a chance to redeem itself. Yeah, maybe look in the mirror, pal.
Yeah.
Ultraman held his hands together one more time, forming a powerful stream of water that got thinner and thinner as he increased the pressure to the highest he could. Then he could make a swift cutting motion with it as he was wielding a giant sword. GKG let out a quiet yelp of pain, then was stiff behind him and the shutdown Mechagodzilla. A large, long line cut into the still line. Mechagodzilla's head fell off, and all three of Ghidorah's heads followed in a shower of golden blood before the mech. A monster fell over its master, now dead. Ghidorah's dome fully vanished, as if by some sick prank by the universe. The boxing rings bell malfunctioned, ringing right at the same time Ghidorah's headless body fell to the ground. King Ghidorah was finally dead. Ultraman fell on his back, exhausted. His energy finally depleted as he turned back to his human host. He smiled to himself. He finally did it. He finally climaxed through hell and back. The rest knowing there's one less planet killer around. Sure, he ruined the boxing ring. Oh no, the boxing ring.
Oh no.
God, what are we
do
gonna do
without it?
Never mind, the Space Godzilla
How else
crystals
are
that
they
are still
going to
out
get their
there.
funding?
Yeah.
Caused untold amounts of damage to one of G-Force's bases and Mechagodzilla repairs. Would take even longer now because of him. Own it, Ultraman, fuck you. You destroyed our base because you had to kill a planet killer. You're fired. But hey, now the AX at G-Force finally had a specimen worth studying. One that may allow development of weapons capable of killing the world's most dangerous monsters by putting Ghidorah's brain in Mechagodzilla. Yeah, he did pretty good, and there is nothing more worthy of than. Shouldn't it be than instead of then?
I think so.
Never mind. Yeah. of a hero's rest in his eyes, and then he took a nap like a little baby. Winner, yo mama.
Yo mama the Ultraman. Anyway.
Big Mama.
Alright. Okay. I
So
think,
by the Baragon logic, Mechagodzilla also lost here.
yes, I was about to say that.
And Mogira.
Mogira and Mechagodzilla lost. Add that to the counter. No,
And G-Force that lost their boxing ring.
yeah. Lost for them too, even though they're not on the roster. Okay.
Did you do it? Yes. What did it cost? The boxing ring.
Ding blasted. Okay, no. I'm gonna have to say this. The beginning of this match, or the first, I'm gonna say 3/4 of this match is really weak. I was not overly huge with how things are just kind of piled onto you. There was a lot of excess detail that I felt like could have been removed, unless this is a continuity match that I'm not aware of. I don't know, or if this was part of a much bigger match that maybe never came to fruition. I don't know. But I can't. Yeah, 3/4 of this match I did not like. It was very flat. I didn't particularly. There are a couple highlights, and I will get into those. But the match itself fell very flat for me up until they go to the underground bunker. Or I think somewhere along, the underground bunker where I think the match picks up. And I really do enjoy the way Ultraman finished off King Ghidorah, using his fire hose ability as a hydro cutter. That's creative. I never thought of that for Ultraman. You know what? That's a really interesting kill, and a really interesting utilization of Ultraman's powers. That part I liked. It was just a pity that it came until the end.
Your match sucks, buddy. That's what he's trying to say.
I think a couple other highlights I will note here, even though I am a little questioning of the logic of Ultraman being mind controlled, because it's like, I don't know the stance we have on it. Like, could Grand King Ghidorah just mind control whoever?
I mean, I would say that like the more will a monster has, the more like the better they are at defending against it. Like if a monster has if the monster's like a mindless killing machine, I don't think mind controlling it's gonna be too hard. But like Ultraman is kind of like
has a strong enough. I mean, it's like you're talking about the same creature is able to control the Elias.
I mean, it overpowered like human and even like mole mines. So I would say yes, it can mind control a monster. But if I would say that if I got a match that said then he mind controlled them all and won, it's like no.
Right. No. Right. Exactly.
It should not be used as a finishing move.
Right. But yeah, there was one part where it was like Ultraman was temporarily under Ghidorah's influence and started beating himself up. That was fun. That's a decent use of Grand King Ghidorah's powers. I'm a little mixed on using the dome. I do like the idea of the dome, but it's also kind of ridiculous knowing the fact that the dome is basically just a giant external stomach. So it's like, there are elements of it that are just like, okay, I'll just shut my brain off for a fan fiction that is particularly deep, but
hey, you never know, he might have gotten hungry.
I do like the idea of the dome being used as a suppressor, trying to keep Ultraman from getting back to the sun. That was kind of neat, but I still find that weird just because I don't think the dome is that big, but whatever.
And he also failed in the end too.
But yeah, I do have to say, out of this whole match, when they go underground, that underground hangar, Ultraman starts chucking mecha bodies at King Ghidorah and using his his fire hose as a hydro cutter. I really liked the match then. Everything before that, I don't think, outside of a couple of highlights, isn't particularly great to me. So I'm not too huge on this particular match. And I think that'll kind of come through when you hear me reading those first 10 paragraphs. Whew. So, Anyway, I'll go from top to bottom. Grayshaw, I know you came in a little late, but
Came
what
in a
are
little
your-
late, but I do remember this one as well. And yeah, the mind control was one thing I was like, oh, that's interesting. Also, the boxing ring I found was like, oh, it's from Godzilla, like, Save the Earth. The boxing ring, like, kind of like level.
Yeah.
I found those interesting. The banner, I love. I think it's that perfect note of ridiculousness, and like it just incorporates both monsters. Just like, what in the world?
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, that part I don't. Yeah, no, again, Coops to Stephanie Hughes once again for the amazing banner. It's a much higher quality banner than it's a better banner than it is the match in this case. So,
yes. I think this is a problem I have with a lot of matches where if you have two monsters fighting, it can get very monotonous fast, especially when you don't change the environment they are,
or if it's too long.
Yes, when enough battle damage is done between the two, it gets like, okay, end it. Like that's something I feared with 275, but I think it works out because you have enough monsters that when King Ghidorah fights a new monster, it feels like a new situation. This situation, you're having Ultraman fight, and Ultraman has a wide variety of moves, but Grand King Ghidorah, both monsters are still taking the punishment, so at a certain point, you're just like, one of the monsters should have given up by now. Especially since nothing changes. So I would say that this is a bit long in the tooth. But yeah, I do agree. The setting is unique. The ending, how it finishes it off, is unique. And there are there are enough elements like the mind control, like the recharge, that it does at the dome, that it does give it a little bit of life. It's just not enough life for the length of the match. It's still very good. It's just too much to chew at one time.
Yeah, let me put it this way: there's a very good 2,000 word match in this 4,000 word match. That's the way I'm gonna put it.
Yeah, 1,000%. Right.
So, we'll go down. Alex, what'd you think of the match?
Fuck you.
Deep voice.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, the way Ultraman killed Ghidorah was pretty cool. With the water bending. The boxing ring was cool. This ain't it, Chief.
You're sounding a lot like Fat Bacon Unicorn over here.
I have no idea what else to say aside from those two.
Okay.
It sucked. I didn't care for it.
Alright.
I'm sorry.
Alright.
Damn.
Nagoda,
Damn.
Nagoda, what'd you think of the match?
Interesting use of their abilities, like as everyone else said, Ultraman's water ability, his hose thing. Most people just think it's just a hose, and they use it as just a hose. But in this match, he used it as a water cutter, which was actually different for once. Same thing with the travel sphere. He used the travel sphere to just slam him into the boxing ring from space. Good use of that too. And something I realized while we were reading this, Grand King Ghidorah let Ultraman recharge 3 times, didn't he?
Yeah, I guess so. I was mentally kind of
But, you know,
checked out.
Ghidorah's always been stupid.
Yeah, I was honestly kind of mentally checked out partway into this match. Up until until the underground bunker, I was kind of checked out.
I had no idea what was happening,
everyone was.
even when I started reading.
But yeah, Banner is really good looking too. Really like that boxing ring look there. By the way, so I'm guessing I know KWCs already answered this, but I'm guessing Grayshaw's gonna say no on the loopholing Grand King Ghidorah mind control bigger beings for this match?
Actually,
No, I'm down.
No,
I'm down.
he
for
just
it.
said that.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
but
he's-
you just
Oh,
just not as a finishing move. Like for instance, if let's say Grand King Ghidorah attacks Earth and Zone Fighter and Ultraman were like, I don't know, we're gonna like it was Zone Fighter and Ultraman versus Grand King Ghidorah. I would not be opposed in the slightest if Grand King Ghidorah mind controlled, said like I can only have enough strength to mind control one of them, and then part of the fight was Zone Fighter fighting Ultraman until they, maybe it was like a twist that Ultraman was never in, mind controlled, or like, Zone Fighter breaks Ultraman's mind control, something like that. I don't mind that use.
Right.
What I'm opposed of is used it as a finishing move, where it's like there's only one monster remaining and Grand King Ghidorah mind controls the monster. I would be adamantly opposed of doing that.
Or just
okay.
or
So
just
it
like
can be used as a plot point, but not a finisher. Got it.
Exactly.
What if Grand King Ghidorah mind controlled one of them and used him as a sex slave?
oh, no. Well, what he does with them is one thing. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, mine could. Yeah.
So match
Bill
15.
Cosby than we originally thought.
You mean match 14?
I mean,
Damn it.
technically he does use his mind control in a little girl if you think about it in that movie.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, don't be bringing up those jokes in front of your son, Alex.
I just don't want strangers doing that.
But yeah, Grand King Ghidorah can mind control other monsters just so long as like their will just kind of like strong-willed ones will naturally be more resistant to it. Weak-willed ones he can perfectly subjugate. So.
Okay, goodbye, Junior. You've been mind controlled.
All right, but did you have any
No,
additional?
No.
Oh, go ahead.
When Grand King Ghidorah controls Junior, he's gonna say to Godzilla, "Your son calls me daddy now."
Oh no! All right, Nagoda, did you have any additional thoughts for 125 or?
None that I can think of. That's it from me for now.
Okay, Joe, what'd you think of the match?
I like the banner.
And
That's all I got to say about that.
Also, another problem I had with this match, there's no ass eating, which I know really pissed off Joe.
Oh yeah, me too. Yep. I just wanted Ultraman to eat Ghidorah's ass like oatmeal.
or the other way around, but it's like 3 heads digging right through.
Yeah, that would
Would have
be
been
good.
so cool, man.
Very cool.
Now, if someone actually wrote that, I would definitely approve of it.
anyway, wait, did you have anything else, Joe, or did you just like the banner?
I just like the banner.
Okay. And what?
I think this.
Oh.
I think this was better back then.
Well, your mental memory of it was better back then. You
Yeah.
look at it now, it's like, oh, you see all the flaws and icky stuff.
Fuck is this shit?
Yeah, basically. It's like I remember. It was just like me with match 14. I remember that match being better. Then Alex told the truth. It was like, oh no, it's just 2 monsters. And it was like, oh, is that what it
Again,
comes down?
This is how that era is. It's just 2 monsters fighting most of the time.
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah.
Oh yeah, by the way, foreshadowing for Legendary Ghidorah with those storms in there.
Yeah, and okay, that one, it was like, okay, so you somehow predicted the future.
Also, this is one of the first matches discussed in the general discussion thread.
Oh. Wait, really?
Whoa.
Just thought that was interesting.
Interesting trivia. All right.
I remember everyone threw a shit fit when Mothra won her first match.
Oh yeah.
Because she won against Rodan and Godzilla. Anyway.
Godzilla can't lose.
Especially after Godzilla lost to Hedorah. Anyway.
Oh, I remember the shitstorm that
Oh, I remember that one too. But anyway, this has been match 125. And we'll see you guys next time for match 126.
You fans are fucking rabid.
See you later, everyone.